We live in a global village, a melting pot of diverse cultures and ethnicities, all converging as a single unified whole. From Tokyo to Toronto, from San Francisco to Sydney, every major city of the world is laced with a diversity of food, languages, and cultural heritage that is amazing. But even as we embrace this new sense of global community and connectivity, it's important to remember that in the midst of this diversity, there is a single thread that binds us closer than geography and proximity. Human beings are all wired the same. At our core, we all grapple with the same key issues in life. We long for answers to life's biggest questions. Where do I come from? Why am I here? What is right and wrong, and where am I going? Culture, language, ethnicity, personal circumstances all shape our answers to these challenging questions, but the questions themselves remain at the core of our collective existence. They are universal. How we answer these questions defines how we live our lives in the present, plan for our futures, and view our pasts. As Christians, and perhaps more significantly as Seventh-day Adventists, we have a worldview that adequately and intelligently provides answers to life's biggest questions. A worldview that provides stability, certainty, and above all, hope. And perhaps that's the most significant thing we have to offer the world today: hope. In her book, The Acts of the Apostles, Ellen White says that all over the world, men and women are looking wistfully to heaven. Prayers and tears and inquiries go up from souls looking for light, for grace, and for the Holy Spirit. Many are on the verge of the kingdom, waiting only to be gathered in. All over the world, there are men and women looking for answers, and all over the world, there are men and women like you who have the answers to the questions that they have. People like you who throng the busy marketplaces, plying your trade, gaining an education, mingling with the crowd. God needs people like you that will share Christ in the marketplace. People like you that will blaze a trail into the deepest reaches of society and offer a message of hope, purpose, and certainty to those around you. ASI is dedicated to networking, equipping, and empowering people like you, trailblazers for the gospel from all walks of life, visionaries and innovators who are looking to combine their skills and talents with the unique call God has given to us as His final movement. A call to prophesy again before many nations, a call to take the three angels' message into the marketplace in this generation. Join us as we take a closer look at the birth of ASI, its vision, mission, and purpose, and the ways in which you too can be a part of this trailblazing movement of innovative mission for God. On a warm summer's day in June 1904, the steamboat, the Morning Star, pushed away from the landing dock here in Nashville, Tennessee, and headed up the Cumberland River. On board was a small group of explorers setting out to find land. Among them was Ellen White and her two sons, Edson and Willie White. Steering the boat was helmsman Will Palmer, and beside him was Ed Sutherland, educator, innovator, and missionary trailblazer. The group was on an expedition to find suitable land to build missionary training schools. These training schools were designed to deploy workers into the deep south of the United States. On board, Sutherland and his partner McGann had just quit their jobs at Emmanuel Missionary College in Berrien Springs, Michigan, in order to embark on this new venture. When they were a few miles out of Nashville, the Morning Star broke down right near this spot. Providentially, they had broken down on the edge of the Ferguson Nelson farm, a large but unpromising spread of land near Madison. Ellen White convinced Sutherland and Palmer to go and see the land. Sutherland was reluctant. He had seen the land before and was less than impressed with its rocky and barren terrain. Ellen White, however, was adamant that he needed to go along, and he grudgingly obliged. When they got to the land, Ellen White told Sutherland she had seen it in vision, and this was the land they should purchase for the training school. Sutherland's heart sank. He protested that it was far too big and far too expensive to be considered, but Ellen White remained adamant. This was the land. When Percy McGann came on board a short while later, he too did not like the prospect of buying the Ferguson Nelson property. The land had been used as a slave trader's headquarters before being abandoned and falling into disrepair. It was the roughest, weediest, most miserable plot of land that either of them had laid their eyes on, and yet inexplicably, God through his messenger was urging them to buy it. McGann and Sutherland had reached a crossroads in their quest to establish an innovative missionary outpost. A crossroads that required more than business acumen or entrepreneurial vision, qualities they both possessed. Instead, the decision they faced required them to take a leap of faith based on divine counsel. How would they respond, and what kind of impact would their response have on shaping the future of missionary endeavors in the Adventist Church at large? Sutherland and McGann wrestled with the decision before them. To acquire the property would be a step into the unknown, against their better judgment, and would stake the success of the entire venture on the word of Ellen White alone. It was a hard sell, not because they didn't believe in the divine calling of Ellen White, but because they were now faced with the task of putting that belief to the test. They spent an entire day in prayer, wrestling with God and pouring their hearts out to Him. They laid out all their challenges, the $12,000 price tag, the fact they had only half that amount in their pockets, the deplorable condition of the land and the scanty facilities available. They laid it all out in prayer. They begged God for help, for courage to move forward in faith, in obedience with the divine counsel. As they prayed, they were filled with such peace, assurance, and courage that from that point forward, whenever they faced challenges, they never doubted that God had called them to this place and to this work. Sutherland and McGann's faith, courage, and self-sacrifice were hallmarks of the work here at Madison. These traits permeated every facet of student life and provided an example for each cohort of students to follow. But there was something else about Sutherland and McGann that was extraordinary. They were both innovators, uniquely merging cutting-edge entrepreneurship with a relentless passion for mission. Visionaries who had a clear perception in their minds of where they wanted Madison to be. How did the Madison School come to be established? What was its ultimate purpose? And what was it that drove Sutherland and McGann forward in pioneering this work?
As Madison began to educate young people, very quickly there began to be a stream of people from Madison going out and starting things. They started healthcare institutions. They started schools. They started elementary schools. They started businesses, actually. They would go out and start a business, and soon they would begin a church in their home, and soon they would be building a church in that community, and soon they would have a business employing people and a church constructed there, and the work of God would be planted in those communities. One of the unique things about Madison was that it encouraged its students to go where there was no other work happening. Now today we kind of look at that, we go, oh, that's a little scary to go out where nothing's going on, where you can't just go to the church and attend the church and sit in the pew. Madison was sending people out who would go into the community and establish a church and build the pews and build the church so that there would be a place for worship. Madison College was established in 1904 under the direction and instruction of Ellen White. God directed them to a piece of property there that they really didn't even want to have because it was rocky and the fences were broken down and the equipment was rusty. Somehow God has this sense of humor. He takes the things that look like they can be used for nothing and He makes something out of them. And I think that's what He wanted to do at Madison, because He wanted to show, if you can do mission work here, you can do it anywhere. It was not beautiful when they went there, but it was beautiful because of what it produced. Young people who knew how to go out and earn a living with their own hands and share the gospel at the same time. At Madison College, one of the things that was evident from the beginning is that they had to earn their own way. They sold eggs, they milked the cows and made butter, they farmed the land, and whatever they had that they had grown, that's what they ate. Because they knew it had to be self-sustaining. If they were going to teach self-supporting, they had to do self-supporting.
It was the template for the program that the self-supporting institutions, including Harvard Hills, have adopted.
At Harvard Hills Academy, the institution has several major components. We have the educational work, and the educational work, we believe, should include practical hands-on training. Therefore, the industries that we also have. Harvard Hills Academy owns a 49-bed nursing home. That 49-bed nursing home is a fully licensed and accredited facility in the state of Tennessee to provide care for senior citizens who need more care than they can receive at home.
And outside of the nursing home, we have Harvard Hills Bread of Life Bakery, where we bake breads and cookies for both the school and the nursing home, and students are involved in that work. And then we have a pretty extensive agriculture program. We're building greenhouses as we speak and growing vegetables year-round. And so students are involved in all of these industries that we have on school. These are the ministries that help support the school.
We also have a radio station on campus. It's really an outreach to our community, but it's also a training tool to help young people. In addition to the practical training through the industries, we have vocational classes in auto mechanics and woodworking and digital photography and medical missionary and food service, teaching them these vital skills that they need for everyday life.
It's an opportunity for young people to learn how to serve other people, how to be responsible, how to be punctual, how to be dependable, how to be good at their job, and how to be a service to mankind.
I grew up in a public sector where it's all academic. I did not have a problem with getting an A. Book work, easy. But when I went to college and I had to apply that to other things, I could not do it. It was hard for me because that practical application was missing. Here at Harvard Hills, we teach the practical application along with the academic, how it can reach one so your mind can reach the higher standard.
So our goal is that our students, whether they go in the mission field or whether they continue on to higher education, is that they will be rooted and grounded and close enough to the Lord that they will be able to sustain and survive.
And this school is equipping them that whichever direction, based on their passion of what they would like to do, when God called them, they are fit with the tool.
The Spirit of Prophecy talks about an army of young people who have been rightly trained. If we're ever going to have an army of young people rightly trained, we're going to have institutions that are training rightly.
Not only are we training students stateside to go out and spread this message and carry it along with them, but now we're sending students all over the world We have students here from probably 16 different countries.
I believe that God has a plan for the work of education around the world, and it is to establish schools like Harbor Hills Academy in every country of the world.
Much like the work at Madison, ASI provides other entrepreneurial visionaries opportunities to make a difference in their communities by bringing the messages of the three angels to people in need of hope. From a mission station in Tanzania to a local business in Boston, here are some stories that showcase ASI's passion for cutting-edge mission.
The idea of avocados didn't start as a big idea to begin with. We noticed that the avocados here were very good. The taste was superior. We decided to try it on a small way. We thought local market would like them. And so we planted different varieties, several hundred trees. And as they were growing, we just began to realize that the world was very interested in avocados at this time. And we had this goal of putting in 10,000 trees. And by the time we accomplished that 10,000 trees, the vision had grown to accomplish 500 acres. And so on that 500 acres now, we have about 62,000 trees planted. They're growing and the Lord is blessing. We see a big harvest coming. I have to say, I'm not first and foremost an avocado farmer. The only reason to be growing avocados and to be doing this business is because we want Jesus to come and we need means in which to accomplish the spread of the gospel.
Kibidula Mission is situated in the southern highlands of Tanzania, and I like to think that we are here to spread the light like God would like us to, through different means, education especially. And this takes on different forms, like reaching our young children from the surrounding villages to the vulnerable youth, those who have failed to progress in secondary school due to poverty or discrimination against the sexes, whatever they may face. But we also train older people to be lay missionaries in unentered areas of this country where it's so hard to raise up churches and start new companies for the Lord. We have health evangelism training. We do printing, distributing of tracts and publishing books, partnering with sister ministries as far as Poland to be able to get these books out into the hands of people of this country.
Because it's a program that is run by laymen, mostly we are trying to do what we can to support it by generating some income from within the program itself. For example, for now we have embarked on the avocado program.
With so many people growing avocados, the question comes to me over and over, are you not worried that the market is going to get saturated? Another providence of God is our climate is such that the avocados harvested here are off-season. You know, God gave us the right elevation, the right water, the right temperatures, that our avocados actually mature at a later stage than most of the avocados in the southern hemisphere. So our prices never drop. They're always fairly consistent.
All these years, we all had wonderful avocados growing in our backyards, never thinking that this could be that elusive self-supporting industry that we've been searching for so long. Every avocado produced supports mission work here, whether it's a tract that's being printed, whether it's a student being received for free into our schools, whether it's a lay missionary receiving training to go back into an unentered area to raise up a company. Avocados. Who would have thought?
Avocados have taught me a lot about depending on God. You know, we can apply the right fertilizers, we can do the pruning, we can do all the right things, and yet we are dependent on God. And you know, sometimes hailstorms come through and all our fruit are damaged and we say, why this, Lord? And yet He has a plan, and through it all He provides an opening, a door. We can sell our avocados one way or another. And since the Lord has opened this door, we see that this project has the capability of not only supporting Kibidula and all its outreach endeavors, but also helping to start and support other institutions not just in Tanzania, but throughout Africa and beyond.
Yes, we have food. People come in, people want food. Food connects people. Our goal is to teach, to educate. So when they come in for food, we would also have workshops. So we listen to the needs of the community, and we're here to serve and to teach. And so we've been fortunate enough to have the space to be able to have large groups. We've had up to 45, 50 people in a given session.
As you go on and you start to know people, they walk in the door, you're like, I know your order, let me help you. And there's certain small things that you could do and they appreciate it, and they're like, you actually really helped me through my day. And I think small things like that, you build up to having a relationship that you can bring more of a personal stance of yourself to them. It's not necessarily walking around, oh, I'm going to preach to this customer, or I'm going to hand out this flyer.
I think reaching the marketplace means finding any way that you can reach those who you come in contact with, finding a way to connect with them. And whether it's through a service you provide or a service they provide, I feel like we're in a marketplace all the time, really. And I think that's a place where we're able to use whatever skills God gave us to reach out to people, even if it's in the simplest of ways. It doesn't have to be a Bible study, it doesn't have to be preaching in the marketplace. Is really just using what God gave you and what you're able to serve with, and finding a way to reach versus waiting for people to come to you.
What I found here in this line of work is that you have so much time with people, and they come to you, and you build friendships, long-lasting friendships. And through that, they are witnessing your work. They're witnessing God's hands in your business or ministry. And I've witnessed it. People have come back and have questions and are open. Their hearts are open. So for me, my experience has been that it's just through demonstration and through showing them what you're doing that people are paying attention.
When you're in your business or you're doing an entrepreneurial thing, whatever you're doing, I think what helps is when you just stop and focus on, how can I minister to someone from a place of selflessness, or how can I operate with selfless ambition? And I think when you stop and think about that, you're able to find value in any of the interactions you're even able to have in your workplace. I'd say the dream for Pulse is to be a place where people can come and not only expect to find good food or great juices, but a place that they can build relationships with people and also find education and support. People being able to come in and share their struggles with health and seeking help. That has always been something that has been well received, and it's something that we want to grow and expand on and be able to provide more support and service even beyond the serving of food.
It's amazing how years of lifestyle have really degraded the human body, but it's amazing how God has designed the body to respond to the things that He has designed to respond to. And the lifestyle that is taught here is quickly responding in the anatomy of our body, and it just changes things. People's strength increases. The numbers, of course, that we test in the lab all change, and it's so encouraging as people look back just in the 18 days and see how they have grown.
Many of the people are blessed by sharing their struggles, and when they see that certain problems that they had in their bodies are resolved by God's grace using natural remedies, that is one of the greatest blessings for me to experience, to see how God is healing people real time with natural remedies. To go with them in the sauna and sing with them, especially scripture songs or hymnals. I love to do that because I have seen that the atmosphere around them changes.
People often come for the lifestyle diseases, things like diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. But you know, people come and they don't realize sometimes that they're coming for another reason. We have a very strong spiritual component to our program. And we find that patients come and when they leave, they say, you know, I came because I thought I needed this, this, and this, but I really found that getting a closer connection with God, having a spiritual revival was the best thing for me.
That we have a creator that made us, that the creator understands the best fuel for our physical equipment to run on, and the best thoughts for our brains to be thinking about, and an attitude of gratitude that is all part of the Judeo-Christian or biblical worldview.
One patient in particular that I'm thinking of came with a very, very high triglyceride level, over 1,000. And they were taking medications and multiple supplements. This patient told me that every Sunday they would spend over an hour bagging up the supplements for every day that they had to take during the next week. And so we stopped the supplements, we tapered them off their medications. 18 days later when they left, their triglycerides were lower than 200. So they dropped over 800 points in their triglycerides in just 2 weeks. And that's coming off the medicines. That's a total miracle from God.
You know, I tell patients, I've been here now for 9 years, and for 9 years I have not taken a salary. You know, I am actually the best paid person on campus because I get paid in miracles.
One of the things I hear a lot as chaplain is the guests are surprised how much prayer is had here. You know, you have a lot of people that are here that are hurting, they have different ailments, different issues, and they'll go to the doctor and the doctor will pray with them, and they're always very impressed that their doctor prays with them. Then they'll go to the hydrotherapist, and the hydrotherapist will pray with them and counsel them and give them Bible verses and promises. And then the massage therapist will pray with them and give them promises and words of encouragement. The nurses will pray with them. And so by the time they come to me and have a counseling session in the morning, I hear that a lot. You know, wow, God is in this place.
UG Pines is actually a place where people are transformed mentally, physically, and spiritually. Not only is it for the guests that come here for physical health, but also for the people that come here to be trained as gospel medical missionary evangelists.
We train people in 3 main elements. We teach them preventative medicine, natural remedies, and gospel evangelism. And the goal, I believe, is to train medical missionaries to take the gospel to the rest of the world.
There's a few components to what we do. We have our lifestyle center. We have a missionary training program. We train missionaries to be able to go out to the world and help people physically as well as bring the gospel to them. And then we have our health food store and vegan restaurant, which is Country Life. And that's a ministry that's actually in the city where it's a center of influence people come and go from. The idea is to do what Jesus did, which is preaching, teaching, and healing. And he went about to to meet the needs of the people with the purpose of bringing the gospel to their hearts.
Country Life is UC Pines' institute in the city, their ministry to the city. It's been there about 50 years. It actually began a year before UC Pines Institute got started. And it's a vegan-vegetarian restaurant and a health food store. You can get, we carry currently about 4,500 different products. And we have an immense salad bar with over 50 options every day, and a lot of vegan options, including desserts for people to come in. The main focus of our ministry there is really education. We want people in the city to be able to know and to take advantage of food and information, literature. And it's a great opportunity for us at the store to minister and to share these principles with people. And one of the, probably the greatest blessing that we receive is when we get testimonies from people. When people come in and say, I've made these changes, I feel great, I've lost weight, I've got off my medication, I can think clearer. There's a lot of wonderful testimonies that we get, sometimes on a daily basis, and that is really the thing that encourages us to keep moving forward.
When we treat these individuals for their ailments, their sicknesses, and they see the compassion, they see us praying for them, they see us petitioning the throne of grace for them, it really opens their hearts to Christ, and that is the end goal. Everything that we do here should and must involve Christ. And if we do that very work, I believe that many people will accept our beliefs, will accept Christ in their lives.
Wildwood is a medical missionary training center for students that will hopefully circle the globe.
It's a ministry that trains people to be involved in health ministries and to train people to travel around the world, starting up these different health ministries. But it's also very involved locally with our clinic, our lifestyle center, our natural food store. We have an organic farm. And so we're very engaged locally, but we're also training people. People come actually from around the world to Wildwood to kind of get a vision for setting up a ministry kind of similar to that.
The main goal of this type of work is to prepare a people for the second coming of the Lord. And as we do that, we minister to them health-wise. As they are touched in their physical health aspects, their hearts become more open to have a more vibrant experience with Jesus Christ. We believe that He is the healer of all our diseases and He forgives all of our sins. And so we help people to realign their lives and come closer to the Lord through this whole program.
We're a center that tries to help you with your mind and your body. So we teach classes like Life Alignment to help you understand that you're greater than the failures that you've made. You know what I'm saying? You're not your disease. As well as whatever disease you may have, by God's grace, we can be able to help in the 11 or 22 days we have.
So we also have a store here. We call it the Wildwood Natural Food Market. We have students who are Bible workers who end up working in the store as the checkout person. Sometimes I may walk into the store and maybe I'm having a rough day, things are not going well. Well, when you have someone who is able to see that, hey, this person looks a little bit sad, and they're able to talk to the person, they're able to even at times pray with the person, that makes incredible difference.
That's thrilling to me. It's just really exciting to be part of something that you know is heaven's specific message commission to be done.
People are so stressed in the cities. They are filled with a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of disease. And to have just a sanctuary that they can come out to and be surrounded by loving people. You know, so many people are not loved in the world. And to come to a facility where you're not treated like a number, but you're treated like a person, and you're prayed for, you're surrounded with love and support. I mean, it impacts people's lives in a great way. We see it all the time with the lifestyle guests that come through, the people that come through the store. And so just its presence locally, you know, and also to the people that travel there, I mean, it's changing people's lives one at a time.
Taking a look at the work that is being done by ASI pioneers around the world at present compels us to ask about the organization's past. How did the Madison School, from its humble beginnings, morph into a network of mission-minded entrepreneurs and professionals? In order to answer this question, we need to take a further look at the story of Sutherland and McGann and pick up where we left off, looking at an image of two men facing down an impossibly run chunk of land and taking a monumental leap of faith. After some haggling and cajoling, Sutherland and McGann purchased the Ferguson Nelson property for $11,000 and took over possession in October of 1904. The school, which they named the Nashville Agricultural and Normal Institute, opened its doors to students not long after, with a cohort of just 11 students. Sutherland and McGann's unique vision for the school incorporated several different aspects, including a school, a sanitarium, and a farm. It came to be known as the Madison School and operated as a self-supporting organization and sought to train, equip, and deploy self-supporting missionaries. The school operated like a large family where everyone was expected to participate in the daily operation of the farm. It was quite normal to see McGann, the college dean, operating a team of mules plowing the field, while another teacher would drive a wagon into the nearby town to sell freshly churned butter made by E.A. Sutherland, the college president. Students who couldn't afford to pay cash for tuition could work on the farm in lieu of payments. This meant that the college had to raise its funds by selling produce or by the generous donation of patrons. Students were expected to work 6 hours a day in one of the college industries in order to meet school expenses. The majority of students coming to Madison expected to be teachers or health workers in rural communities in the South. And about a year after the school started, the first missionaries went out to set up their own outposts. Groups of Madison alumni banded together and formed several small, self-supporting colleges that were fashioned on the Madison model. These schools served their local communities by offering numeracy and literacy classes for the local children, as well as health education for the adults. By 1915, there were 39 self-supporting groups spread across Tennessee, Alabama, and North Carolina, forming a network of innovative, self-supporting missionary startups, making inroads into their local communities. In many ways, Madison set the stage for innovation in mission in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And not only that, it also facilitated and empowered lay-driven mission initiatives. Years later, when Adventist Laymen's Services and Industries, better known as ASI, was formed, it too embraced these same core values: mission, innovation, and self-sacrificing commitment, all driven by an empowered and well-equipped laity. At the heart of the Madison model were a few key principles: the importance of faith in God's word and sacrifice, the importance of innovation and entrepreneurship within the context of mission, and the importance of an empowered and engaged church membership readily sharing Christ in the marketplace. When you look at the Madison model, you cannot help but think about the modern day startups and entrepreneurships. In what ways was it similar to these creative industries and businesses? In what ways was it different? And what can we learn today about the importance of innovation in mission? But there's another aspect we need to consider. Thrown into this mix of innovation in mission are the inevitable statistics that we need to face. According to the United Nations, 55% of the world's population now live in urban areas or cities. That's just over half of the world's population crammed into the confines of major cities. But there's more. Almost 58% of the world's population now has access to the internet. In fact, we find ourselves going online more and more in search of information and answers. And finally, only 50% of the world's population have access to adequate healthcare. So in a nutshell, just over half of us live in cities. We have more access to the internet than we ever have, but almost no access to adequate healthcare. Given all of this and considering our unique mission as Seventh-day Adventists, how can innovation in mission prepare us to meet the changing face of global society? How can these statistics prepare us to meet the millions who so desperately need to hear the gospel?
Without innovation, often mission is less effective. Without mission, innovation simply is human endeavors. So when you blend innovation and mission, you have the best of both worlds. You expand the gospel through innovation, but the function of innovation is not innovation for innovation's sake. We're not seeking for relevance, we're seeking for success in the kingdom of God.
Well, ASI is a wonderful organization that has as its main focus reaching people with the precious gospel of Christ and the message that has been entrusted to Seventh-day Adventists.
I believe that ASI is uniquely positioned to help that happen because our focus, our niche, if you want to say it that way, is on the business and professional and ministry people. We're not here to address every single Seventh-day Adventist. We're not trying to be the personal ministries department of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We are uniquely positioned to talk to the business people, the professional people, and the lay ministry people. I believe that that group of people have passion and energy and ideas to support the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
And how is ASI making a difference in these areas? Let's pause and look at some ASI projects happening around the world.
Riverside's in a very unique location. We're south of the capital city of Lusaka, and we're actually right on the river, right at the base of the cliffs. That location provides us with ample water on the edge of an area that's quite arid, very bushland. And so we've got beautiful soils. And because of the dry season, during that dry season with the irrigation, it's almost like being able to grow in the biggest greenhouse you've ever imagined. To give an idea, this year we'll produce 5 million pounds of bananas. And that funding is what allows us to bring students, and their teachers are paid for. So the cost for them is honestly in most cases less than the food that they'll eat while they're here, which is really an exciting thing. It reminds me back to some of the stories of Madison and the students coming with $5 and depositing and giving their $5 when they leave. We're not quite there yet. But there's a significant contribution from industry to the educational process here. So Riverside's really a combination of things. We do a lot of education, both for adults and children, and then we also focus a lot on evangelism. Those really go hand in hand. So that's the core of what we do. And in the process, obviously, we have a farm and we grow a lot of bananas, wheat, soybeans, and other crops to help that happen. It started as a small, few fields, few houses near the river. The property is 1,200 hectares. For those who are in the States, almost 3,000 acres. And it started there. They were growing some maize, some wheat, some sorghum in small amounts, running water up a hill, down through these ditches to try to irrigate. And then at some point, one of the guys said, hey, let's try bananas. And Riverside was actually the first place in Zambia to try growing bananas commercially, and did it on a small scale, but the first to do it. And maybe 10 hectares of land being done at the max at that period of time. And so today we're up to 38 hectares of bananas. So one of the things that bananas really contributes obviously is income, but you think of, for example, a lot of self-supporting projects. We call ourselves self-supporting, but we're really donor-funded projects. And one of the things I really like here is that we're moving towards the place where we'll be completely self-supporting from an income standpoint. And places like ASI have been, immensely generous with Riverside over the years. For example, the bananas that are behind me, they helped with a donation one year for $50,000. And that's a lot of money to plant bananas. I mean, you could build churches or do something else with that. But when you realize that for every dollar they gave, the ministry has received more than $6.66 for every dollar that was given, because it's leveraged through the industry of bananas. And so bananas literally exponentially multiply the value of the donor funds that are given here. We're the second largest employer in the district, employing more than 150 people full-time here on the farm, with the school, with the program. And with that comes significant sponsorships in education, obviously money for food, clothing, but also we've been able to impact people through the training program that's connected to the work. You know, the access to education obviously helps if you're reading the package on fertilizer, you're planting maize locally, but it's also unlocks the possibility of going anywhere. I mean, one of our students went on to go to Harvard, and so you just realize the stepping points that you give someone is unlimited. You unlock the potential for their future by giving them education. And so seeing students, you know, more than 100 students are sponsored, 100% free education out of the village. Kids who were getting failing education otherwise are graduating with top marks. The school, while we're small, is the highest graduation rate in the entire district. And so that's really exciting. And so now adding the secondary school in, we're going to be able to continue that through that partnership with Child Impact.
The advantage of having the students here is that when they leave after graduating, after their 5 months of training courses are finished, then they go home, they take more knowledge than they had when they came, and they become missionaries in their own communities.
In 1900, 1903, there were less than 2,000 Seventh-day Adventists in all of Southern Africa. And today there's more than 1 million Adventists in Zambia. And you know, that's really, I think, a testament to the opportunity of combining church work with self-supporting work close together. We've been able to, with partnership with ASI, build hundreds of churches, working with people like Light Bearers to have literature across this country, and the results can be seen. And now you have one of the largest populations of Adventists, but yet you still have hundreds of villages with not a single Adventist in it that still need to be reached. And so you see this work continuing before us. So the vision is really to see people combining business and ministry together, because you know, we're told that business and ministry are not two separate things, they're one. And I think sometimes we get confused, and as young people, we tell young people, hey, you know, we're gonna go to heaven, and we get the idea it's harps and clouds. But it's really gonna be being creative. God's creative, and I believe throughout all eternity, we're gonna be able to be creative. And here, we get the chance to impact people who will be able to be creative with us for eternity, creating new things. And so I think the real purpose for being here is to bring more souls to the kingdom of God through the different aspects with which we can impact people.
I'm Andrew Schmidt, and I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. We have a small business that we make machines for the textile industry. We make machines that put on buttons and snaps onto garments, pants, tarps. My father actually started in New York City with his father and mother, and they didn't have hardly anything, but they worked really hard, saved, and started a little machine shop in their basement. And my grandfather was very sharp, mechanical, and he and my father was able to design small machines and get some business that grew into larger accounts and business, and eventually moved to Lexington.
I think my parents placed a desire in our hearts, my brother and I. We saw growing up Dad's passion for sharing Christ.
Dad took us when we were younger out sharing literature.
And we would go door to door and actually knock on the door. And someone would come to the door, and he would offer a book and offer for Bible studies. And there were times that they took him up on that offer, and we would go back every week.
Obviously, as I grew older, I realized as well that in the business, they always took advantage of being able to talk to people or share a little book here or there. When my father, when we started sending equipment out, he set a lot of it up. And so as he was in the factory, he would have opportunities to share books with the mechanics or with the owner. So he's always seen that as just a way to pay it forward for God. I mean, God is basically, in essence, gave him or them the business, the brains and everything. And I think through his example, he showed us that whenever you can, you want to give back to God.
You know, we have on our music that's put on hold, we have Amazing Grace and Christian music that's usually playing. And I've picked up the phone before, and the lady on the other end said, you know what, that was Amazing Grace. I haven't heard that since I was a little girl. My grandma used to take me to church, and I haven't been to church since I was little. And it made me realize I need to get back to church. So just, those are simple, simple things you can do, but they make an impact. And with God's blessing, they reach the right people.
We have placed this business into God's hands, and He brings people. And I feel like we have the opportunity and also the responsibility to let them know who Jesus is and what He has done for them. In other words, it's not so much important what I say, but what they see in me. That's important.
God has brought us where we are. Okay, He has helped us. He has given us the business and the opportunities. And so wherever we have that business, we share what He's given us.
The way we look at our business is we realize that God is blessed, whether it was through my grandfather and father in the ideas and the engineering, in the marketing and getting customers. All that is not because we're so smart, but it's God's blessing. And so whether you're a doctor or own a car manufacturer or whatever you do, I would say, God gave you that. God blessed you with that. And the least you can do is give back.
We have a sphere of influence that other people don't have. We have relationships with our customers, with our vendors, that our pastor doesn't have and the evangelist does not have. And God asks us to take the tools right where we are, not lay them down and go to church and work for Him, but right where we are, to pick up whatever we have in our hand and be able to use that to share for Him.
When you look at the days of Israel, Samuel established the schools of the prophets for the purpose of training young men to keep the knowledge of the living God alive. I believe we're living in serious times and that the Lord is getting ready to come back. But there needs to be young and old who will sound a clear message calling hearts for repentance and for faithfulness. And I believe that's one reason our schools are established.
Ouachita Hills is located in sort of like the foothills of the Ozark Mountains. And so it's just a setting where we really have our minds on the Creator who made all these things.
Ouachita Hills, to me, has been an experience where I've been in an environment where I'm surrounded with people who are excited about Jesus. I learned a lot of things about how to be more well-rounded and how I approach life. So part of the reason in college I went here is I wanted to live outside of my comfort zone. And one of the things I had to do was canvassing. And that helped me to learn how to speak about religious things in all kinds of different ways with all kinds of different people. Now I work at Ouachita Hills Academy, so I'm more in the teacher role. And one of the things that we're trying to do for our students that come through is to help them have an education of both the mind, body, and spirit. So it's not just, we're teaching them academics, but they're actually learning practical skills that they can take in life
As students are learning to deal with problems and intricacies and to discern things that they need to be involved in, it carries over, those skills that they develop carries over into practical life and into their educational time.
The young people are like swords in the hands of a mighty warrior, right? And Jesus is the mighty warrior. But if the sword is not sharp, it does no good. You know, if you want to keep our young people, we need to send them out. But in order to send them out, we need to prepare them for what's out there.
We want them to leave this school with the experience or the knowledge of how to use their profession to reach out to those souls that they come in contact with. A lot of young people has been having a conversion experience, but they have not learned, they have so many gaps. And we have the opportunity here to help them grow and solidify their beliefs. And not only that, but also to develop skills that can be used in a professional world.
So in the college we have 4 programs. We have a business degree, 2-year and 4-year program, and we also have education, both elementary education, secondary education, and then we have a music program that we just started, music majors. And also in the religion department we have 3 programs. We have the associate degree, 2-year degree for personal evangelism, where we train Bible workers and canvassing leaders. And then in our 4-year program, we're training either pastors or pastoral evangelists or missionaries. We have the biblical studies where you can have a minor in business and other things. And then our theology program that has the biblical languages that you can dig more deeply into God's Word.
They have a work study program here also, so we not only have educational classes where we learn things in the classroom, but we also have practical work where we work on the farm, we do woodworking, we do all types of different work. And so it's really nice that we can take what we learn in the classroom and put it to practical work here on campus in our work study program, but also on the canvassing field with ministering to people.
At the last days of Earth's history, we are told that we are going to have an army of youth that are rightly trained, that are going to take the gospel to the world in that generation. We're living on the cusp of that time, I believe.
Messages to young people says, as a young person, what are your aspirations? Do you have high aspirations? And many times we can be like, oh, it's not good to have high aspirations, be like the president or being in Congress. But when you are able to have Christ as the focus of, I want to work in the government or I want to work in enterprises, the gospel is able to go in places where many times it's not available to go.
Yes, we do need these schools around the world. It is a necessity, and I believe that the Lord will smile on us greatly if we make this a priority.
Today, ASI is a force for mission around the world. From its humble beginnings, ASI has grown as an organization that empowers God's workers. In 1947, it began when the expanding network of self-supporting institutions that had been inspired by the Madison School joined together to form the Association of Seventh-day Adventist Self-Supporting Institutions. They were subsequently organized as a department at the General Conference. When it was first organized, ASI membership consisted solely of educational and healthcare organizations. Over the years, membership grew to include businesses, Adventist entrepreneurs, and professionals. This expansion and diversification led to the organization's name being changed to Adventist Laymen's Services and Industries in 1979. Like Sutherland and McGann over a century ago, there are many committed, visionary lay people within the Adventist Church who have a genuine desire to hasten the soon return of Jesus through concerted missionary effort. Like the Apostle Paul, they're tent makers, occupying the marketplaces and thoroughfares around the world. When Paul was in Rome, he quietly plied his trade in his small house, entertaining a steady stream of guests eager to know more about Jesus. Today, like the Apostle Paul, there are many who are willing to use their skills and the tools they have at their disposal, not only to make a living, but to win souls for the kingdom. ASI exists to provide these individuals and organizations with the support they need to flourish and grow. Through the networking and training at our annual convention, financial assistance and mentorship, we seek to nurture innovation and mission in the Adventist Church. In many ways, ASI still encapsulates the vision and mission that were the hallmarks of Madison College and its founders.
So sharing Christ in the marketplace is the motto of ASI. Every business has its own marketplace. We have our own marketplace here as a ministry. We have a nursing home, we have a farm, we have a bakery, we have students here. Students are part of our market. We want to see them engaged with Christ and the Gospel Commission. But the community is part of our market as well. As we engage with the community through providing services, we want to do it in such a way that we're effectively sharing the good news of Christ with them while engaging in business with them.
Ministry has to take place beyond the walls of a church. And wherever you are, wherever you live, wherever you work, wherever you go to school, God wants you to do ministry. And you can do ministry. You can be equipped through ASI to learn how do you share Christ as a student in your school? How do you share Christ in your work as a business professional, as a medical professional, as a doctor, as a person in industries, as an artist, as a graphic designer? There's amazing ways that you can learn to share Christ.
ASI becomes the pulse, the very heart of what Adventism is all about. It is a lay movement, and I'm reminded that a statement of Ellen White where she said, "Until laity and ministry join hands, the work of God on earth will never be finished." And so it's vitally important.
ASI is committed to taking the three angels' message to all the world in this generation. Every project that it undertakes, every individual that it equips and empowers is a single link in a long chain towards this single purpose.
My name is Denzel McNeilis. I'm from Dodge Center, Minnesota, and I am a banker by trade. Me as being a businessman, I thought that my first job was to make money and give it to the church and let the professionals do the work. I didn't realize that there's this whole opportunity of sharing Christ in your own marketplace. And so I just get inspired by my own brothers and sisters that are involved in business, that are doing not just giving money, but they're giving. And don't get me wrong, you need to support the church. You need to be giving your money because that's part of who you are. But the real focal point is, what are you doing besides giving your money? That's where it really comes down to. Where are you sharing Christ? Where are you giving your own personal Bible study? Where are you being involved? Because let's face it, the Lord doesn't need our money because He has it all, right? What He needs is us. And what we need to do is be giving not just of our money, but of our time. We're a family-owned bank, so we're a community bank, and we mainly focus on small businesses. Our main focus here is to take care of our customers and to be a light in this community for Jesus. I believe the Lord is using this business. I believe that we as business people have an opportunity to share Christ where we are. And I believe every person is put in a position to reach people that no one else can reach.
On the banking side, people tend to be a little more vulnerable when they're discussing their financials, and so they'll let their guard down a little bit. That can filter into other types of discussions. Obviously, religion would be a component of that.
Because we call these divine appointments, these opportunities that He gives us to share. I feel that if God calls you into a place where you are working with the public, that He does expect you to share Him.
Well, sharing Christ in a marketplace can't just be a meaning. It has to be a lifestyle in what we do as a family. I always make it a point of when a customer asks me, "How are you doing?" Because that's kind of a standard answer. I always say, "Well, I'm doing fantastic, but it's going to get better." And they'll say, "Well, how does it get better than fantastic?" And I say, "Well, the Lord's coming." And so I know with the Lord coming, it's going to get better than that. Or another person will ask, well, how are you doing? I say, I'm very blessed. I had a customer say to that to me, he goes, that's right, you're a Christian. I really would like to talk to you about your faith. Can we meet and talk about your faith? And so just by answering questions like that in a way that creates opportunity for opening the doors, I think is very, very important for us to open doors to be able to share the gospel. Our friend Dwight Hildebrand says it best. He says, once you share Christ, it's like a disease and there is no cure, because you want to do it over and over and over again because it's such a joy.
Spider Controls is a company that designs and manufactures electronic controls for different industries like RVs, boats, specialty vehicles, and equipment. Our company started humble beginnings back in 2000 and started in our garage and basement, very humble beginnings. Since that time, our company has grown to provide more of this type of product to the industries that we serve than any other industry of its kind. And it's been just amazing to see how God has provided not only the opportunities to grow and to learn, but also the people that make up really what Spider Controls is. The difference that we feel that Spider Controls offers is in our industry is the way that our team cares about our customers. And that is a culture that has definitely developed here at Spider Controls over the years. We believe that our highest calling is to give. God created us in a way that He wanted us to be giving. And as we give of ourselves, that is when we are happiest. We see that in the life of Christ and how He lived His life, giving every day in what He would do in His ministry on this earth. And that's an opportunity that we have here in our company to try and develop that culture.
Curtis is really big on mission trips and promoting outreach for the community. He actually was my sponsor for my mission trips. I got to go to the Philippines on a medical mission. That was very special and life-changing for me. We also do work bees here at work, so if anybody needs a hand or they know somebody in the community, over the winter we did some snow shoveling. So we would just go and surprise people and have their driveways shoveled.
You know, it's interesting how the culture of living to give is gone beyond the walls of our business here, and it's something that has definitely impacted our customers. As we really have that attitude and that focus on giving, we want to give that best service that we possibly can. We do design and manufacture electronic controls and products for these different industries, but it's actually the service that has been what has set our company apart in the industry. And that service comes from a desire to make sure that we're giving the best to our customers. And that attitude pervades all of our team members that are connecting with customers. And it's interesting how that opens up opportunities to not only be a witness and that professionalism and that desire to give our absolute best to our customers is such a powerful witness in itself, but also your customers then have a much higher level of trust in you. And it opens up opportunities for conversations that go much beyond business. We have the opportunity as your customers develop that trust in you, they open up to things that are going on in their lives and the opportunities that come out of that to pray together and to maybe just share a need that they have in their lives that we can lift up in prayer and even bring back to our team to pray about. Has been an amazing opportunity to bring Christ into our marketplace. And so we're grateful that God has provided those opportunities to make those connections with the customers that we serve.
In 2011, a study was conducted. For every 10,000 people in India, there are only 20 health workers. That includes physicians, nurses, and therapists. It's a big problem in India. I had a privilege of going and attending Wildwood Lifestyle Center in Georgia, USA. And I did my 6-month program and advanced course there, which has really transformed and touched my life. And I could see how powerful this medical missionary work could be used, reach out to other people and touching their life and changing their life. And I see people coming with so much of suffering in the lifestyle centers. Their life have been transformed in a short time of 10 days or 21 days. And when they go back, I could see such an impact. And I wanted to have the same thing happening right here in India, where there is so much of suffering in disease. People are actually dying with a sickness which they could easily prevent or easily they can reverse.
And it's not because the resources are lacking, but because the basic knowledge is not there for them. So one of our dreams as we work with light and health coaching in India is that more of this basic healthcare knowledge of how to take care of our bodies, what foods to eat, simple remedies of hydrotherapy and massage for the people who work all day and night and have tired bodies. All these things that we have grown up with and we are exposed to can also be shared with them through the training of light material. That way they can also live healthier lives, and they will also have true and proven methods that God has given us to have more whole and fulfilling lives that are free from the suffering and disease that the people here face.
We train and equip people to become as medical missionaries. We have them go and establish their own center and build network among all the other ministries as well that are doing light affiliated schools or institutions. Our vision in restoration healthcare, in lifestyle coaching, is to branch out to every state of India, Nepal and Bhutan to make healthcare accessible to everyone that is in need of help. We want our clients to be personally connected with our coaches, that we can able to impact their life not just on physical level, even in their spiritual and also in their mental aspect as well. This is an enormous field that needs to be reached. The only way we could reach is Christ's method alone. The Savior mingled with men as one desired their good. He showed his sympathy for them, ministered to their needs, and won their confidence. Then he bade them, "Follow me." And that is exactly what we want to do with the help of our trainees and our centers.
In many ways, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is not just a church, it is a movement, which implies it is made up of a group of like-minded individuals, always moving forward, always innovating, always breaking new ground in search of new frontiers. Our calling as Adventists is clear: the three angels' message to all the world in this generation, and the methods we are to use, while being in harmony with the Bible and the spirit of prophecy, must always stay abreast of the changing world around us. We are called to straddle the line between biblical principle and progressive innovation, all in pursuit of a single global vision. The pioneers of this church straddled this line successfully, breaking barriers wherever they went. James and Ellen White, Stephen Haskell, J.N. Andrews, Anna Knight, Percy McGann, Ed Sutherland, the list goes on. They were all faithful, courageous, indomitable, and committed. They were all innovators and missionaries in equal measure. In Matthew 28, verse 19, Jesus gives each of us the Great Commission. He commanded us to go into all the world and make disciples in His name. The commission was not given so much to the church at large, but to each one of us as individuals. It is a call to total member involvement, a call to unequivocal mission-mindedness. It is a call to action. As you contemplate the work of those who have gone before, ask yourself what you can do in the work that lies ahead. Follow the calling that Jesus has made on your life and go forward committed and courageous, an innovator and a missionary, ready to turn the world upside down for God's glory.